Hello, SVUE students. It is the week of January 4th. I hope that you had a wonderful and restful holiday break, but I, for one, am happy to have you back. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now it's time for the Avid Spartan Pledge. I am an avid Spartan, always prepared for the day. Very respectful to all that come my way. Intentionally safe and determined to exceed. I am an avid Spartan and today I will succeed. Avid job highlight. This week's job will hopefully spark your interest. I know that I'm ecstatic because today I'm talking about being an electrical engineer. Electrical engineers work on a variety of projects. They work on computers, robots, cell phones, GPS, and lighting. And that's just to name a few. There are 3 degrees that people go into if they want to become an electrical engineer. 1, electrical engineering. 2, electronics engineering technology. Or 3, computer engineering. To be a good electrical engineer, you need to be good with technology, good in a team, and be able to come up with new ideas as well as work under pressure. Classes you are taking now include Project Lead the Way, Science, and Language Arts. Because as an electrical engineer, you might find yourself either writing or reading lots of instructions. A few of the colleges in the area you can get your degree are as follows. University of Illinois in Champaign, Northwestern University, Illinois Institute for Technology, Bradley University, and Southern Illinois University. Just in case you need a good electrician joke, I have one that might blow your fuse. My mom thinks my dad is not a good electrician. Boy, is she in for a shock. It's time for the Teacher Spotlight. Mrs. Dunsing, take it away.
Welcome to the Teacher Spotlight. This is Mrs. Dunsing, and today's Teacher Spotlight is going to be with Mr. Scovren. So thank you very much, Mr. Scovren, for doing this Teacher Spotlight for us. So we'll start with, where did you go to college?
I originally went to the University of Minnesota in Minneapolis on a baseball scholarship.
Is that you playing baseball there?
That is. I was actually against the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, Michigan when I was a freshman.
Very nice. And then you decided to come to Illinois.
I did. I transferred from Minnesota to the University of St. Francis in Joliet, which is just outside of Chicago, for my sophomore year, where I continued to play baseball there for 3 years. And that's where I actually started to become a teacher.
Well, that leads us to our next question here about the twisted, long road that led you towards teaching. What can you tell us about that?
Well, when I was in high school, I had a really cool American history teacher. I actually had him in middle school as well. And I remember sitting in his class, and he did a great job of painting a picture of what American history looked like. And I remember just sitting in his class thinking, it'd be kind of a cool job. I really like history. I could do this someday. And that was in the back of my mind. And at the same time, I also had a really fun class a couple floors down from there, which was my drafting class, which is kind of like what I teach in STEM. I learned how to draw houses and architecture, and we built a bridge out of sticks and see how much weight it could hold before it broke. And we drew like machine parts and everything else. So kind of like blueprints. So after graduating high school, I originally was going to go become an architect and learn how to design golf courses and city parks. And the idea of designing a baseball stadium for probably the Chicago Cubs was probably my mind somewhere along the way, or maybe the Cardinals, I suppose, too, for Mrs. Dunsing. But anyways, I originally wanted to become an architect, and I was studying to become an architect. And after I transferred to Joliet, they didn't have that class anymore. So I ended up going to my second one, which was become a teacher.
Well, I think there's a lot of SVUE students and former SVUE students that are glad that you chose that route, definitely. So in your spare time, what do you like to do?
Pretty much everything that you see on the screen right there. My family and I, we like to spend a lot of time outside hiking. We go to Kennecott and Kickapoo, hike there. Anytime we go to a different city, we look for different city and county and state parks to go hike at. One of our favorite places to hike at is in where my parents live in Tucson, Arizona. Just seeing some of the different, elevation changes and plant life and animals and cactuses and roadrunners and quail and coyotes in the distance and everything else. We also enjoy Disney a lot. And as you see, I like to cook. especially when it's nice out. When it's outside, I like to grill and draw, and I also spend some time keeping in shape and running.
Is this an example of something that you've drawn?
It is. This was something that I drew back in the springtime, not long after they said we weren't going back to school. It was just, I felt kind of odd that day after hearing our governor say that, school is going to be canceled going back in person for the remainder of the school year. I felt really, like I said, odd and strange and kind of sad and mad and just kind of all emotional. And I also thought of Kermit the Frog, and I'm, thinking of his song about rainbows and everything like that. And so I just kind of took out my drawing pad and pencil and kind of said, you know what, the sun's going to come out again eventually, and we're going to be all right through all this, despite all the black and grays and dreariness that you see in the background there. Kermit kind of made my day, and hopefully everybody else's too.
It's an awesome drawing. I love it. Now, from what I understand, you have quite a zoo at your house. Tell us about your pet.
We do. We have 3 dogs, a cat, 2 ferrets, 2 turtles, and a bearded dragon. And whatever other wildlife that we have that isn't in our house is outside. We do like nature a lot. I've always enjoyed bird watching and trying to figure out what type of birds are flying around and pecking at our trees or hovering above our house. On the couch there are 3 dogs. We've got a pug on the far left. Her name is Annie, and Bailey's there in the middle. She's kind of our mutt. And my hunting dog there is the brown one on the right, and she's a German Shorthair Pointer.
Oh, I love those dogs. Those dogs are nice. My dad used to have one when he was hunting a lot. So they're a beautiful dog. So these are some pictures of your family. Is this correct?
That is on the right side. My wife and I, who will be married for 20 years coming up in a couple years. She reminds me she's sitting here. On the left, that is my kids alongside my mom and dad in Tucson, Christmas in 2019. It was about 60 degrees right there, and Christmas in Arizona is a little different than it is here, but it's really beautiful.
It looked very, very nice. So you've also mentioned that you have an appreciation for the powers of Yoda and Luke Skywalker. Can you give us an example of that appreciation?
If I wouldn't laugh too much, I could give my best Yoda-ism. Star Wars came out when I was about in kindergarten or so, and just kind of grew up with it. And as the movies started progressing more and more, as the movies got older and I got older, you saw like Luke kind of just everybody transition. It's kind of just appreciation for life, I guess.
I'm a little bit of a Star Wars fan myself. I was a little bit older when they came out, though. This is one of your favorite quotes. It's pretty fun to do the impossible, and that was quoted by Walt Disney. Do you have anything to add to that at all?
Not too much. I mean, it's something I bring up in class occasionally. It's kind of neat because, like, when the kids say something's hard, but then they try and they work at it and they see their success, even if it takes a couple times of trying over and then doing it, and then all of a sudden, yes, I get it, or yes, this works, or something along those lines. It's kind of neat how that all ties in together about, it is pretty fun to do the impossible.
Definitely. Well, Mr. Scovern, I'd like to thank you for coming and doing this teacher spotlight for us. And I'm sure the students will just thoroughly enjoy learning more about you. And would you say that this little signing off would be appropriate here for you, this picture?
Fred Bird, as much as I like the Cubs, I'm a big baseball fan still. And Fred Bird, he is pretty cool and very funny. So salute back to you, Mr. Fred Bird.
Thank you very much. I appreciate this, and I'm sure everybody's going to enjoy watching and hearing about this.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Wow, Mr. Scovern, you have a lot of unique animals. Pretty fascinating, don't you think? Don't you think? Thank you, Mr. Scovern, and thank you, Mrs. Dunsing. Time for the special day of the week. If you find it tough to take bobbleheads seriously, you're not alone, but perhaps you should. National Bobblehead Day is on January 7th. Now is the chance to recognize the fun behind these dolls and admit you like them without feeling self-conscious about it. Although these goofy dolls have become popular in the past couple of decades, bobbleheads have been around for the past few centuries. We bet you that there is a bobblehead version of any famous person you can think of. Presidents, sports figures, Supreme Court justices, the Beatles, all have their own bobbleheads. Clearly, National Bobblehead Day is a great idea. If you don't believe me, just ask the world's population of millions of bobbleheads. They are sure to nod in agreement. Sorry. Time for the joke of the week. What do you call the leader of a bunch of bobbleheads? The head bobble. Time for a question for you. Which country is credited with the invention of bobbleheads? Answer in the comments down below. I want to just leave you with one last word. Efficacious. Having the power to produce a desired result. I hope you will help me be efficacious by using this word in your vocabulary this week. I'm Mr. Hubbard, and I'll see you next week.